The morning sun cast long shadows across the naval base as Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen stepped out of her car, adjusting her crisp uniform one final time before entering the building that would determine the next chapter of her military career. At 32, she had already accomplished more than most officers twice her age, but today felt different. Today, she was walking into a room full of Navy SEALs who had never worked alongside a female officer in their elite unit. The briefing room buzzed with low conversations as Sarah made her way to an empty seat near the back. She had learned early in her career that observing before engaging often provided valuable insight into group dynamics. The men around her were exactly what she expected: battle-hardened, confident, and carrying themselves with the quiet intensity that came from years of high-stakes operations.
"Gentlemen, we have a new addition to our team," announced Commander Martinez as he entered the room. "Lieutenant Commander Chen will be joining us for the upcoming operation in Southeast Asia.
She brings extensive experience in intelligence gathering and tactical coordination." Sarah stood when her name was called, offering a professional nod to the room. Most of the men responded with polite acknowledgement, but she noticed one particular SEAL in the third row whose expression remained skeptical. Petty Officer First Class Jake Morrison had a reputation that preceded him: 15 years of service, multiple deployments, and a confidence that sometimes bordered on arrogance.
After the initial briefing, the team broke into smaller groups to discuss operational details.
Sarah found herself naturally gravitating toward the intelligence section, where her expertise would be most valuable. She was deep in conversation with the communications specialist when she heard Morrison's voice carry across the room. "I still don't understand why we need babysitters on this mission," Morrison said to his teammate, loud enough for others to hear.
"This isn't exactly a desk job where you can hide behind a computer screen."
Sarah felt the familiar tightness in her chest that came with such comments, but she had long ago learned to control her immediate emotional responses.
Instead, she continued her conversation, making mental notes about communication protocols and extraction procedures.
She had dealt with skepticism before and knew that proving herself through actions rather than words was always more effective.
Later that afternoon, during the physical training session, Morrison's attitude became more apparent.
The team was running through combat scenarios in the training facility when Sarah demonstrated a particularly effective close-quarters combat technique she had learned during her time with special operations units in Afghanistan. "Not bad for someone who probably learned that from YouTube," Morrison muttered, just loud enough for his immediate circle to hear. This time, Sarah decided to address the comment directly. She turned to face Morrison, her expression calm but firm.
"Actually, I learned it from Master Sergeant Rodriguez during my deployment in Kandahar. Perhaps you're familiar with his work?"
The mention of Rodriguez, a legendary special operations trainer, caused a brief moment of silence in the group. Morrison's jaw tightened slightly, but he said nothing more. As the days progressed, the pattern continued. Morrison would make subtle comments about Sarah's experience, her physical capabilities, or her understanding of SEAL operations. He never crossed the line into outright insubordination, but his attitude created an undercurrent of tension that affected team dynamics. During one particularly intensive training exercise, the team was working through a hostage rescue scenario. Sarah had been assigned as the tactical coordinator, responsible for managing communications and coordinating the various elements of the operation. Her performance was flawless. She anticipated potential problems, adapted quickly to changing circumstances, and maintained clear communication throughout the exercise. Despite the successful outcome, Morrison found fault. "In real combat, you don't get do-overs when your coordination falls apart," he said during the debrief session. "Some of us have been in situations where split-second decisions mean the difference between coming home and coming home in a box." Sarah felt the weight of his implication that her experience, however extensive, wasn't equivalent to his because she hadn't served in the same specific units. It was a common argument, one that ignored the complexity and danger of the intelligence operations she had conducted, often behind enemy lines and without backup. Commander Martinez, who had been observing the team dynamics, stepped in.
"Morrison, Lieutenant Commander Chen's record speaks for itself.
I suggest you focus on the mission rather than questioning decisions that have already been made." The rebuke was professional but clear. Morrison nodded curtly and remained silent for the rest of the session, but Sarah could see the resentment simmering beneath the surface. That evening, as Sarah reviewed mission files in her quarters, she reflected on the familiar challenges she faced as a woman in special operations. She had worked twice as hard as her male counterparts throughout her career, constantly proving that she belonged in rooms where few women had been before. Each assignment brought new tests, new skeptics, and new opportunities to demonstrate her capabilities. Her phone buzzed with a text from her sister back home. "How's the new assignment going? Making friends with the boys?" Sarah smiled despite herself. Her sister's light-hearted question touched on something much deeper than casual friendship. In units like this, trust and respect were earned through shared hardship and proven competence. She had built that trust many times before, but each new team meant starting over. She thought about Morrison's attitude and recognized something familiar in it. She had seen it before in other challenging assignments, the assumption that her presence somehow diminished the unit's effectiveness or that she had achieved her position through something other than merit. It was exhausting, but she had learned to channel that exhaustion into determination. The next morning brought news that their deployment had been moved up by 2 weeks. The team would be heading to a remote base in the Philippines to conduct reconnaissance on suspected terrorist activities. The accelerated timeline meant intensified preparation and less time for team building, which could work either for or against Sarah's integration into the unit. During the final mission briefing, Sarah presented her intelligence analysis of the target area. Her presentation was comprehensive, highlighting potential threats, local political dynamics, and suggested approach routes. The room was attentive, and even Morrison seemed engaged, though he continued to avoid making direct eye contact. "Questions?" Sarah asked as she concluded her briefing. Morrison raised his hand. "What's your assessment of local insurgent capabilities? How do we know this intelligence is current enough to bet our lives on?" It was a legitimate question, but Sarah detected the underlying challenge in his tone. The intelligence is verified through 3 independent sources, including human gathered within the last 48 hours. The assessment methodology follows standard protocols that I've used successfully in 12 previous operations. She could have mentioned that several of those operations had resulted in significant tactical victories and saved American lives, but she chose restraint over defensiveness. As the team prepared for deployment, Sarah noticed subtle changes in group dynamics. Some team members had begun seeking her input on technical matters, recognizing her expertise despite Morrison's ongoing skepticism. The communications specialist, in particular, had developed a working relationship with her that would be crucial during the upcoming operation. The night before departure, Commander Martinez called Sarah into his office. "How are you feeling about the team integration?" he asked directly. "There are some challenges, sir, but nothing I haven't encountered before," Sarah replied honestly. "I believe the mission's success will ultimately speak louder than any personal dynamics." Martinez nodded. "Morrison is a good soldier, but he has some blind spots. Don't let his attitude affect your performance or confidence. You were selected for this mission because you're the best person for the job." As Sarah left the commander's office, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but also new opportunities to prove that her place on this team was earned and deserved. She had no way of knowing that the upcoming operation would test not only her professional capabilities but also reveal aspects of her background that would fundamentally change how her teammates viewed her. The evening air was warm as she walked back to her quarters, her mind already shifting to the tactical challenges that lay ahead. In 12 hours, she would be on a plane with men who questioned her presence, heading into a situation where trust and competence could mean the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure. She thought about all the moments in her career that had led to this point, the long nights studying intelligence reports, the physical training that pushed her beyond her limits, the dangerous missions that had shaped her into the officer she was today. Each experience had prepared her for moments like this, where proving herself wasn't just about personal vindication but about ensuring mission success and keeping her team safe. As she settled in for what might be her last comfortable night's sleep for weeks, Sarah made a silent promise to herself. She would execute her duties with the same excellence she had brought to every assignment, regardless of the social dynamics around her. Tomorrow would begin a new chapter, one where her actions would speak louder than Morrison's doubts or anyone else's preconceptions. The mission ahead would be dangerous, complex, and demanding. But Sarah had spent her entire career preparing for moments like this, and she was ready. The military transport plane descended through thick clouds toward the remote airstrip in the Philippines, its engines straining against the humid tropical air. Sarah checked her equipment one final time, running through mental checklists that had become second nature after years of deployment preparations. Around her, the SEAL team maintained the focused silence that preceded dangerous operations. The past 72 hours had been a whirlwind of final preparations, equipment checks, and intelligence updates. The target was a suspected terrorist training facility hidden in the dense jungle of Mindanao, where recent satellite imagery suggested increased activity. Sarah's mission was to coordinate intelligence gathering while the SEALs provided security and tactical support. As the plane touched down on the rough airstrip, Morrison glanced in her direction. Throughout the flight, he had maintained his distance, speaking to her only when mission requirements demanded it. His attitude hadn't improved, but it hadn't worsened either, a cold professionalism that Sarah found preferable to open hostility. The local base commander, Colonel Reeves, met them at the landing strip. His weathered face and careful manner suggested years of experience in this challenging region. "Welcome to paradise," he said with dry humor as he led them to the operations center. "The situation has developed since your last intelligence brief." Inside the air-conditioned operations center, Reeves spread updated satellite photos across the table. "We've identified increased movement in this sector," he pointed to an area about 15 kilometers from their target. "Could be reinforcements, could be a relocation. Either way, it changes your approach options." Sarah studied the new imagery, her analytical mind immediately processing the implications. The increased activity suggests they might be preparing for something significant. The pattern of movement indicates a potential leadership meeting rather than routine training. Morrison spoke up. "How reliable is this intelligence? Are we talking about confirmed visual identification or just movement patterns?" "Combination of both," Reeves replied. "We have human confirmation from local assets and corroborating signals intelligence." Lieutenant Commander Chen's assessment aligns with our local analysis. The acknowledgement of her analytical skills seemed to register with some team members, though Morrison's expression remained neutral. Sarah had learned to recognize these small victories, moments where her competence became undeniable even to skeptics. Over the next 2 days, the team established their forward operating position in a concealed location overlooking the target area. The work was demanding, setting up communication equipment, establishing observation posts, and maintaining security while gathering intelligence. Sarah found herself working closely with the team's technical specialists, her expertise in signal interpretation proving valuable as they monitored enemy communications. During this period, Morrison's professional demeanor continued, but Sarah noticed subtle changes. When she identified a critical communication pattern that revealed enemy patrol schedules, he nodded in acknowledgement. When her quick thinking prevented a potential security breach by identifying an unexpected local patrol, he was among those who appreciated her alert response. The breakthrough came on the third night. Sarah was monitoring intercepted communications when she detected something unusual in the transmission patterns. After 2 hours of careful analysis, she made a discovery that would change everything. "I need to speak with the team leader immediately," she told the communications specialist. Commander Martinez joined her at the intelligence station, where Sarah had prepared a detailed briefing. "Sir, I've identified something significant in the communication intercepts. The language patterns and encryption methods suggest we're not just dealing with local terrorist groups." She pulled up her analysis on the secure terminal. The technical sophistication and operational security measures indicate possible foreign military involvement. The communication protocols match patterns I've seen in previous operations involving state-sponsored activities. Martinez studied her findings carefully. "Are you suggesting we're looking at something bigger than a training facility?" "Yes, sir. Based on the intelligence patterns, this appears to be a coordination center for a much larger network. The implications extend well beyond local operations." The significance of this discovery was immediately apparent. If Sarah's analysis was correct, Their mission had just shifted from routine reconnaissance to potential disruption of international terrorist coordination. Martinez called for an immediate team meeting. In the dim light of their concealed position, Sarah presented her findings to the full team. The technical complexity of her analysis was impressive, but, more importantly, the implications were clear. They had stumbled onto something far more significant than their original intelligence had suggested. Morrison listened intently as Sarah explained the communication patterns and their significance. For the first time since their initial meeting, he asked questions that seemed motivated by genuine professional interest rather than skepticism. "What's your confidence level on this assessment?" he asked when she finished her presentation.
95%, Sarah replied without hesitation. The technical indicators are consistent with patterns I've analyzed in similar operations. The operational security measures alone suggest this isn't a local operation.
Commander Martinez made the decision to extend their mission and gather additional intelligence before taking any action. This meant several more days in their concealed position, requiring careful coordination and heightened security awareness. During this extended period, the team dynamics began to shift noticeably. Sarah's discovery had demonstrated her value in ways that transcended the initial skepticism about her presence. Her analytical skills were providing intelligence that could potentially save American lives and disrupt a significant threat. Morrison began including her in informal discussions about tactical approaches. It wasn't friendship, that would come later, if at all, but it was professional respect based on demonstrated competence. When Sarah suggested modifications to their observation schedules based on enemy movement patterns, Morrison not only listened but implemented her recommendations. The most significant moment came during their fifth night in position. A severe tropical storm moved through the area, bringing torrential rain and dangerous winds that threatened their concealed position. The team worked through the night to secure their equipment and maintain operational capability despite the harsh conditions. Sarah was monitoring communications when a critical transmission came through despite the atmospheric interference. Her quick work to clarify and decrypt the message revealed that the enemy was planning to move their operation within 48 hours, exactly the window they needed to act. "Outstanding work," Morrison said as he reviewed her analysis. It was the first unreserved compliment he had given her since they met. But Sarah's expertise was about to be tested in ways she hadn't anticipated. As they prepared for the next phase of their mission, new intelligence arrived that would require all of her analytical skills and operational experience. A coded message from headquarters indicated that higher command had been monitoring their intelligence reports with great interest. The operation had attracted attention at the highest levels of military command, and additional resources were being deployed to support their expanded mission.
"This is bigger than we thought," Commander Martinez told the team during their evening briefing. "Washington is very interested in what we've uncovered here."
Sarah felt the weight of responsibility that came with such attention. Her initial analysis had triggered a chain reaction that was now involving multiple agencies and significant resources. The pressure was intense, but it was also validating. Her work was being recognized at the highest levels. As the team prepared for the more complex operation that lay ahead, Sarah noticed that Morrison's attitude had evolved from skepticism to something approaching respect. He still didn't engage in casual conversation with her, but his professional interactions had become genuinely collaborative. During a tactical planning session, Morrison even asked for her input on approach routes, acknowledging her familiarity with the intelligence picture in ways he hadn't before. "What's your read on their security posture in this sector?" he asked, pointing to an area on their tactical map. Sarah provided her assessment, noting patrol patterns and communication protocols she had identified through her analysis. Morrison listened carefully and incorporated her insights into his tactical recommendations. The transformation wasn't complete. Years of preconceptions don't disappear overnight, but the foundation for professional respect had been established. Sarah recognized that she was still proving herself, but the nature of that proof had shifted from gender-based skepticism to mission-focused evaluation of her capabilities. As they prepared for what would likely be their most challenging phase yet, Sarah reflected on the progress made. She hadn't sought Morrison's approval or friendship; those weren't necessary for mission success. But she had established her credibility as a professional whose expertise contributed meaningfully to their shared objectives. The real test, however, was still ahead. The expanded mission would require everything she had learned throughout her career, and the stakes were higher than any of them had initially realized. But, for the first time since joining this team, Sarah felt that she was being evaluated on the same criteria as her male counterparts: competence, reliability, and contribution to mission success. That night, as she reviewed intelligence reports and prepared for the challenges ahead, Sarah allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. She had broken through the initial barriers of skepticism through patient professionalism and demonstrated expertise. The respect she was earning was based on merit rather than accommodation. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and higher stakes, but tonight she could appreciate the progress made with a team that was slowly but surely recognizing her as a valued contributor rather than a questionable addition. The operation began before dawn on their 7th day in the Philippines. Sarah had spent most of the night coordinating with satellite intelligence and preparing final communication protocols for what had evolved into a complex multi-phase mission. The terrorist coordination center they had identified was now confirmed as a significant threat requiring immediate action. Commander Martinez gathered the team in the pre-dawn darkness for final briefings. The plan was sophisticated. Sarah would establish an advanced observation post with Morrison and 2 other SEALs while the remainder of the team positioned themselves for coordinated action based on her intelligence gathering. "Remember, this is intelligence gathering first," Martinez emphasized. "We need to understand the full scope of what we're dealing with before taking any decisive action." Sarah checked her specialized communication equipment one final time. Her role was crucial. She would be coordinating real-time intelligence analysis while maintaining communication with both the immediate team and headquarters. The success of the entire operation depended on her ability to process information quickly and accurately under pressure. The movement to their observation position took 3 hours through dense jungle terrain. Morrison set a demanding pace, but Sarah kept up without difficulty. Her years of physical training and field experience served her well as they navigated challenging terrain in near-complete darkness. As they established their concealed position overlooking the target facility, Sarah began setting up her intelligence monitoring equipment. The location Morrison had selected provided excellent sightlines while maintaining concealment, a testament to his tactical expertise despite his personal shortcomings. "Communication check," Sarah whispered into her headset as she brought her systems online. "Clear signal," came the response from the command element. "We're receiving your data stream." For the next several hours, Sarah monitored enemy communications while observing activity patterns at the facility below. Her analysis revealed a level of sophistication that exceeded even her earlier assessments. The terrorist organization was clearly receiving support and direction from sources with significant resources and technical capabilities. Morrison watched her work with growing appreciation for the complexity of her task. She was simultaneously monitoring multiple communication channels, analyzing signal patterns, and maintaining coordination with their command element. The intensity and skill required were obvious, even to someone unfamiliar with intelligence operations. "Contact approaching from the northwest," Morrison whispered, spotting movement through his scope. Sarah immediately adjusted her monitoring focus, identifying the communication signatures associated with the approaching personnel. "I'm reading encrypted communications consistent with leadership-level protocols," she reported quietly. What happened next would test every aspect of Sarah's training and experience. The approaching group included individuals whose communication patterns matched profiles from her previous analysis of high-value targets. This wasn't just a coordination meeting, it was a gathering of significant terrorist leadership. "This changes everything," Sarah whispered to Morrison. "We're looking at targets that have been on priority lists for months." Morrison's response revealed the depth of his tactical thinking. "Can you maintain surveillance while we adjust our position for better coverage?" Sarah nodded, beginning the delicate process of relocating her equipment while maintaining communication intercepts. The technical challenge was significant, but her field experience had prepared her for exactly this type of adaptive operation. As they repositioned, Sarah continued her real-time analysis of the developing situation. The intelligence picture was becoming clearer by the hour. The facility was hosting a planning meeting for coordinated attacks across multiple countries.
The implications were staggering.
Headquarters needs to see this immediately, Sarah told Morrison as she processed a particularly significant communication intercept. Morrison watched as she worked to enhance and clarify the signal, her expertise evident in the confident way she adjusted her equipment and interpreted the complex data streams. For the first time, he was seeing her in her element, not as someone trying to prove herself in his environment, but as a professional operating at the highest levels of her specialty. The breakthrough came when Sarah identified a communication protocol that matched patterns from a terrorist attack that had occurred 6 months earlier in Europe. The connection provided crucial intelligence about the scope and methodology of the organization they were observing. "We need to alert international partners immediately," Sarah reported through secure channels. "I'm seeing direct connections to previous attacks and indicators of imminent operations."
The response from headquarters was swift and decisive.
Additional resources were being deployed, and Sarah's intelligence was being shared with allied agencies in real time. Her analysis had just contributed to what was likely to become a significant international counterterrorism operation. Morrison found himself reassessing everything he thought he knew about intelligence operations and the people who conducted them. Watching Sarah work under pressure, he began to understand that her expertise was as specialized and demanding as his own, just in a different domain. "How confident are you in these connections?" he asked, genuine curiosity replacing his earlier skepticism. "Very confident," Sarah replied, showing him the technical analysis that supported her conclusions. "The communication signatures are too specific to be coincidental, and the timing aligns with intelligence indicators we've been tracking for weeks." As the day progressed, the situation at the target facility became increasingly significant. Sarah's monitoring revealed that the gathering included representatives from terrorist organizations across 3 different countries, all coordinating plans for synchronized attacks. The pressure was intense, but Sarah thrived in these high-stakes situations. Her training had prepared her for exactly this type of complex, evolving operation where split-second analysis could impact global security. Morrison began asking more detailed questions about her analytical process, not from skepticism but from genuine professional interest. He was beginning to understand that her expertise complemented the team's tactical capabilities in ways he hadn't previously appreciated. "The pattern analysis you're doing," Morrison said during a brief lull in activity. "How long does it take to develop that level of skill?" "Years," Sarah replied honestly. "Similar to developing tactical expertise. Different domain, same level of dedication required." It was a moment of mutual recognition, 2 professionals acknowledging the depth of experience required to excel in demanding specialties. Morrison's respect for her expertise was becoming apparent, even if he wasn't ready to fully acknowledge his earlier misjudgments. The afternoon brought a development that would test everyone's skills. Sarah detected communications indicating that the terrorist leadership had become aware of increased military activity in the region. They were preparing to disperse, potentially taking their plans with them. "We have a narrow window," Sarah reported to the command element. "They're implementing security protocols consistent with imminent departure." The decision came from headquarters. The team was authorized to take action to prevent the dispersal of the terrorist leadership. What had begun as an intelligence gathering operation was about to become a direct action mission. As they prepared for this shift, Morrison found himself naturally coordinating with Sarah in ways he hadn't at the beginning of their mission. Her intelligence picture was guiding their tactical decisions, and her expertise was essential for mission success. "What's your assessment of their security posture?" Morrison asked as they planned their approach. Sarah provided a detailed briefing on guard positions, communication protocols, and movement patterns she had observed throughout the day. Her analysis enabled Morrison to develop a tactical approach that maximized their chances of success while minimizing risk. The trust and coordination that had developed between them over the previous week was about to be tested in the most demanding circumstances possible. Sarah's intelligence work had identified a significant threat and provided the foundation for stopping it, but the execution would require every member of the team to perform at their absolute best. As evening approached and the team prepared for action, Sarah felt the familiar combination of anxiety and focus that preceded high-stakes operations. But, for the first time since joining this team, she felt fully integrated into their operational planning. Her expertise was valued, her analysis was trusted, and her contribution was recognized as essential for mission success. Morrison's transformation from skeptic to collaborator wasn't complete, but the foundation for professional respect had been solidly established. More importantly, the team was functioning as a unit where each member's expertise contributed to their collective capability. The operation ahead would be dangerous and complex, but Sarah was confident in her preparation and her team's capabilities. What she didn't know was that the events of the next 24 hours would reveal aspects of her background that would fundamentally change how Morrison and the rest of the team understood her place among them. The operation unfolded with precision that reflected weeks of preparation and the team's growing coordination. Sarah maintained her intelligence monitoring position as the SEALs moved into their assault positions, her real-time analysis guiding their approach through the complex terrain surrounding the terrorist facility. Movement in Sector 3, she reported quietly through her headset. 2 guards repositioning to the northern perimeter. Morrison acknowledged her report and adjusted his team's approach accordingly. The trust that had developed between them over the past week was now being tested in life-or-death circumstances, and Sarah's intelligence was proving crucial for maintaining tactical advantage. The assault began at 0347 hours, timed to coincide with a shift change that Sarah had identified through her communication monitoring. The precision of the operation was remarkable. Each team member executed their role with the expertise that came from years of training and experience. Sarah continued monitoring enemy communications as the operation progressed, providing real-time updates on guard reactions and potential threats. Her position gave her a comprehensive view of the developing situation, and her analysis helped the team maintain their advantage throughout the complex operation. Command element neutralized, Morrison reported as his team secured the main facility. Beginning intelligence collection. This was where Sarah's expertise would prove most valuable. As the team secured the physical facility, she coordinated the collection and analysis of intelligence materials that would provide insights into the broader terrorist network they had uncovered. Working alongside the team's technical specialists, Sarah quickly processed documents, communication equipment, and digital storage devices found at the facility. Her analytical skills enabled rapid assessment of the intelligence value and immediate identification of time-sensitive information. "We have immediate threat indicators," Sarah reported as she analyzed intercepted communications. Coordinated attacks planned for 3 major cities within the next 72 hours. The significance of this discovery was immediately apparent. Sarah's analysis had not only identified a major terrorist coordination center but had also provided intelligence that could prevent imminent attacks and save countless lives. As the team prepared to extract from their position, Sarah worked feverishly to ensure all critical intelligence was properly collected and transmitted to headquarters. Her expertise in rapid battlefield analysis was enabling real-time disruption of terrorist planning. The extraction went smoothly, with Morrison's team providing security as Sarah completed her intelligence collection. The coordination between tactical and intelligence operations was seamless, reflecting the professional respect and trust that had developed throughout their mission. Back at their forward operating base, Sarah spent the next 18 hours conducting detailed analysis of the intelligence they had gathered. Her work revealed the full scope of the terrorist network and provided actionable intelligence that was immediately shared with allied agencies worldwide. "Outstanding work," Commander Martinez told her as she completed her initial assessment. "Your analysis has potentially prevented multiple terrorist attacks and provided intelligence that will impact counterterrorism operations for months to come." But the true revelation came 3 days later, as the team prepared to return to the United States. Sarah was called to Colonel Reeves' office for what she assumed would be a routine debrief session. "Lieutenant Commander Chen," Reeves began, "I've received some interesting communication from headquarters regarding your background and performance on this mission." Sarah waited, unsure where the conversation was heading. "It seems your work here has attracted attention at the highest levels of command. I've been asked to discuss your next assignment, which involves a significant promotion and new responsibilities." Reeves pulled out a classified folder and opened it carefully. "You're being promoted to commander and assigned to head the new Joint Intelligence Coordination Center. The assignment comes with immediate effect and requires you to brief the Joint Chiefs within the next 2 weeks." Sarah felt a moment of shock at the unexpected news. The promotion was significant, but the assignment was even more remarkable. She would be leading a new intelligence center that coordinated counter-terrorism operations across multiple agencies. "Sir, I'm honored by the confidence, but I want to ensure the current mission is properly concluded before taking on new responsibilities." "The mission is concluded," Reeves smiled. "And successfully so. Your analysis has led to the disruption of a major terrorist network and the prevention of multiple planned attacks. The intelligence community considers this mission a significant victory." That evening, as Sarah packed her equipment for the return journey, Morrison approached her. His manner was different. The skepticism and distance had been replaced by something approaching genuine respect. "I heard about your promotion," he said without preamble. "Congratulations." "Thank you," Sarah replied, uncertain where the conversation was heading. Morrison was quiet for a moment before continuing. "I owe you an apology. When you first joined the team, I made assumptions about your capabilities and your place here. Those assumptions were wrong." Sarah appreciated his honesty, but she also recognized the significance of his admission. For someone like Morrison, acknowledging error required considerable humility. "I've learned something important working with you," Morrison continued. "Expertise comes in different forms, and the mission is always bigger than personal preferences or comfort zones. We all bring different strengths to the team," Sarah replied diplomatically. "The mission's success was the result of everyone's contributions." "Maybe," Morrison said, "but your contributions were essential in ways I didn't initially understand or appreciate." It was as close to a full apology as Sarah expected to receive, and she respected Morrison's directness in addressing his earlier behavior. The flight back to the United States gave Sarah time to reflect on the mission and its implications for her career. The promotion was significant, but, more importantly, she had proven herself in one of the most challenging environments possible. The respect she had earned from the team was based on demonstrated competence rather than accommodation or lowered standards. When they arrived at their home base, Commander Martinez called the team together for a final debrief. As he reviewed the mission's success and each member's contributions, he specifically highlighted Sarah's analytical work and its impact on mission outcomes. "Lieutenant Commander Chen's intelligence analysis not only guided our tactical operations but also provided information that has had strategic impact on counter-terrorism efforts worldwide," Martinez announced to the team. After the formal debrief, several team members approached Sarah individually to acknowledge her contributions and wish her well in her new assignment. The transformation in their attitudes was complete. She was no longer the outsider proving herself, but a respected colleague whose expertise had been crucial for mission success. Morrison was among the last to approach her. "Your new assignment," he said, "it sounds like a significant responsibility." "It is," Sarah agreed. "But this mission has prepared me well for the challenges ahead." "You'll do excellent work," Morrison said with conviction. "You've earned the respect of everyone on this team, including those of us who were initially skeptical." As Sarah prepared to leave for her new assignment, she took one last look at the operations center where she had spent the past several weeks. The mission had been challenging in ways she had expected and some she hadn't, but it had also been deeply rewarding. Her phone buzzed with a message from her sister. "How did everything turn out with the boys?" Sarah smiled as she typed her response, "Better than expected." Mutual respect is always possible when everyone focuses on the mission. A week later, as Sarah stood in her new office overlooking the Pentagon, she reflected on the journey that had brought her to this point. The nameplate on her door read Commander Sarah Chen, Director, Joint Intelligence Coordination Center, a title that represented years of dedication, expertise, and perseverance. Her first official meeting was scheduled with the Joint Chiefs to brief them on the intelligence gathered during the Philippines operation. As she prepared her presentation, she thought about Morrison and the rest of the SEAL team who were already preparing for their next mission. The phone rang, interrupting her thoughts. "Commander Chen, this is Admiral Richardson's office."
The Admiral would like to schedule a meeting to discuss expanding the Joint Intelligence Program based on your recent mission success.
Sarah scheduled the meeting and returned to her preparation work. The mission in the Philippines had been just the beginning of what would likely be a career defined by breaking new ground and proving that excellence recognized no boundaries.
That afternoon, she received an unexpected email from Morrison. "Commander," it read, "congratulations on the new assignment.
The Joint Intelligence Center is lucky to have someone with your capabilities leading it. If you ever need SEAL support for operations, you know how to reach us.
Respectfully, Jake Morrison." The email represented more than professional courtesy, it was acknowledgement that the barriers of skepticism and prejudice had been replaced by genuine professional respect. Sarah had proven herself not by changing who she was, but by demonstrating the excellence she had always possessed. As she looked out over the Pentagon and thought about the challenges ahead, Sarah felt ready for whatever came next. She had earned her place through merit, proven her capabilities under pressure, and built the kind of professional relationships that would serve her well in the years to come. The name on the commander's office door reflected not just a promotion, but a journey of perseverance, excellence, and the ultimate triumph of competence over prejudice.